Akilak's Adventure by Deborah Webster. Not so long ago, when Inuit lived a traditional nomadic life on the barren lands of Arctic, there lived a young girl named Akilak. Akilak's mother had died when she was a baby, so her grandmother had adopted her. Akilak and her grandmother lived all along on the land and rarely saw other people. One morning, as they were preparing to go on a hunting trip, Akilak's grandmother sprained her ankle. Akilak watched as her grandmother carried on, limping and in pain. Eventually, Akilak's grandmother said, "You must walk to your uncle's camp to get some food and bring it back. My foot hurts, so I have to stay here." "I remember the way to the camp," Akilak said, knowing that their food supply was running low. "I can get the food." Akilak's grandmother told her which route to take and assured her, "If you walk north at a good pace, you will reach the camp by nightfall." Akilak's eyes widened. She had never walked such a great distance before and felt uneasy about being on her own. Her grandmother raised her eyebrows in agreement. "Yes, granddaughter, you will walk a great distance. But keep in mind, your destination is not running away. It will be reached eventually." Carrying on a small amount of dry meat as a snack, Akilak set off toward her uncle's camp. She walked and walked. As she walked, she thought about how wonderful it would be to see and play with her cousin again. And she also thought about all the steps she would have to take to reach the camp before nightfall. After what seemed like a long time, Akilak reached a stream with a large boulder beside it. She decided to have a snack and a drink of water from the cool stream. She unwrapped the dry meat and was about to take a bite when she suddenly saw a young female caribou standing before her, grazing on lichen. The caribou lifted her head and stared at Akilak, but for some reason it did not run away. Finally, the caribou smiled and said, "You need not be afraid of me. I am harmless, really. I thought you might like some company on your journey. Have you much farther to go?" "Oh, caribou!" exclaimed Akilak. "You startled me. I thought I was all alone out here. Yes, I do have much farther to go. It seems like an endless journey to my uncle's camp." Although Caribou was a stranger, she seemed like a friendly animal, and Akilak liked the idea of having a traveling companion, so she agreed to let Caribou walk with her. After they had walked a while, Akilak sighed. "I have been walking north on this bumpy tundra for a long time, but it still seems I am no closer to my destination than when I started," she said. "I understand how you feel," said Caribou. "When I go on a long journey, a migration, I sometimes feel the same way." Akilak smiled. There was one question she could not resist. "Why are you not with the other caribou?" "Well," said Caribou, "soon it will be time to migrate south through the tree line for winter. I will be walking a great distance with many other caribou. But before I begin that journey, I would like some time on my own to explore. I am on an adventure." Akilak and Caribou had reached a long lake, and Akilak felt she was finally making progress. "Most evenings, after my grandmother has lit the oil lamp and we have settled down for bed, she tells me stories." Akilak told Caribou, She tells me stories about people turning into animals and animals turning into people. Akilak turned to look at Caribou's furry face and saw her raise her eyebrows in agreement. Yes, I know those stories, said Caribou with a knowing smile. I often wish I could turn into an animal, continued Akilak. Right now, if I could, I would turn into a fish. A trout is what I would be, so I could dive into this lake. I would have fins and swish my tail from side to side and swim through the fresh blue water. Caribou nodded and said, if you were a fish, you could swim across the lake a little time, but what about traveling the rest of the distance to your uncle? Well, Akilak thought, looking down at the colorful tundra, I would grow legs and turn into a wolf. With 4 legs, I would be such a fast runner, said Akilak as she imagined herself as a wolf bounding across the tundra. Side by side, Akilak and Caribou continued walking. As they walked through the meadow, a cool breeze brushed Akilak's face. Better still, Akilak said excitedly, I would turn into a bird. Geese are my favorite friends. My arms would turn into wings so I could fly. Lifting her arms up and down like a goose in flight, she said, I would flap my wings and feel the wind in my feathers. I would reach the camp very, very quickly. I would not have to take another step. They both laughed. You have quite the imagination, Akilak, said Caribou as she chuckled. Then she asked, do you really wish you were an animal instead of a person? Akilak considered this carefully. Finally, she replied, animals are my companion, and they understand me, but as much as I would like to turn into an animal and be with many others, I'm grateful to be a person so I can be with my grandmother. The sun was beginning to set. Akilak and Caribou walked in a comfortable silence that good friends or close relatives share. Akilak knew that once she climbed over the nearby hill, she would reach her uncle's camp. Caribou raised her head, sniffing the air, and said, I have to go back now, so I enjoyed your stories. We made it back before dark, said Akilak, very pleased with herself. I thought I would have to walk forever, Caribou, but with your company, my long journey did not seem to take so long after all. Caribou looked at Akilak and said with a smile, your destination will not run away. You will reach it soon. Amazed that Caribou knew what her grandmother had told her, Akilak turned and asked, how did you know that? But just as suddenly as Caribou had appeared, she was gone. Although her new friend Caribou had left and Akilak walked alone, there was a lightness in her step as she climbed to the top of the hill. There she looked around and saw the tents of her uncle's camp and her cousin walking and running toward her. Akilak smiled as she waved back. She had so much to tell about her journey. No, she thought, I have so much to tell about my adventure. The end.